What's up, guys? Welcome to Good Orderly Direction again from Strong Island TV. Bobby Lucera, the owner, and Jerry's a little under the weather, so Jerry's home today. I'm going to do this on my own. And Milton is overworked. He's been working double time, so he couldn't make it today. But nonetheless, the message goes on. I think about, like last night I preached from the house, for those of you who watched that program. I always think along the lines of, the walk that you have to have with God. Not having him at all, living your life without God completely, which is what a lot of people do for many, many years, until they finally come to their senses and say, there's got to be something more to this, Sometimes it's just that. Sometimes it's a loss, a death, a loved one. Something shakes the tree, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden they want to know if there's an afterlife, if there's a God. What's the purpose of all of this, that kind of thing. That's kind of like where I ended up, with God. I ended up in exactly that place. And I wanted to know, like, what more is there? Is there more? What am I missing here? And when I first came in, I was going to church and, and listening to the messages. And don't get me wrong, they were great messages. I was listening, can absorb everything, when you're young like that in it. I had a very good knowledge of the Bible, scripture and verse, from when I was a child. I got involved in this thing called Lamplight Studies. I was 14 years old in a born-again church, and I started doing these studies things, and you have to answer questions about specific things out of the Bible. I was good at it. I was passing these things with flying colors. Every time I'd mail them out, they'd go to the Midwest, they'd come back again. And I did really well with this. So I had a good knowledge of a lot of great scriptures at a young age. Seeds were planted. God planted seeds in me. But then, of course, all the other things came up that I've spoke on many times on my program, with the drug addiction. And, as I got older, I went to do my own thing and live my own way. And I tried to do things without God, But God was always there in my mind. I knew he was real. At that time, I was probably more afraid of him than realizing how much he loved me, because I was doing wrong things at that point. And it got worse and worse until I was a man making bad mistakes. So I turned my life around again by falling into the hands of Jesus and the salvation system, back in the same church where it started all those years before. And I started to learn. But there was always like something missing. Like they needed to get more, That drive and that desire to get more and more, I think, is what led me to where I am now. I never felt like complacent. I never felt like I arrived. I never felt like I knew it all. Every day I go to God and say, what is there anything I'm missing here? And when I read to get studies together with you guys, right? I ask him, I say, what can I work with? And I was just talking to Jerry Ann earlier today on the phone, and we had a conversation, and I told her, I said, listen, I could pretty much look at anything in the Bible that's a story and find the application of the everyday need of an individual person from that story of scripture, right? And that's a gift. Like in the norm, you can't just do that, but there seems to be a gift that God gave me. He gave me this gift. And it opens up an avenue for him to show me what to teach, I didn't go to Bible college, none of that stuff, I went to the school of hard knocks, baby. That's where I went, I went down to the ground and back up and down to the ground again and back up again a few times. But, that's where I came to a lot of the messages that are coming through now today, because I see them through the pain and suffering. I see them through the hardships of what I went through and how God got me through those hardships. What I'm trying to say in a nutshell is, I don't care what's going on in your life, man. I don't care what's going on in your life. God 100% cares about you. Jesus 100% took his life to the cross for you. I mean, that's hard for people to understand that. Some people say, there's no God, is there? I told you a couple of times about my buddy online. Hey, he believes in some little idiot that lives on a cloud. He's such an idiot. He lives in a fantasy land. And, well, that's what he thinks God is. Well, obviously life hasn't ripped his soul out yet. But if somebody like that's a hardhead like I was, one day, things will get so bad, you might have to reach out to God for real. The pain will be so severe. Who knows? I don't know what time harvest time comes for everybody. I know when it came for me. Nobody can call that day, We didn't call that day. But I was looking at some stuff, and I came up with a situation where there was a woman at a well. Now, those of you who watch The Chosen, you might have seen this. Great show. I watch it. The Chosen, when he went to the woman he met the woman at the well. Well, there's so much more to that story than what's on the plain page. You know, there's always the story in the natural, and there's always the insight in the spiritual, and there's always the application for your soul and who you are and what God wants you to understand. I always look for those three things, always, right? Check this out. There came a woman, a Samaritan, to draw water. Jesus said unto her, give me to drink. For his disciples were gone away unto the city to buy meat. Then said the woman of Samaria to him, how is it that thou, being a Jew, ask drink of me? Because, in other words, she was like below him because he was a Jew. She wasn't supposed to converse with him or anything, right? They were not supposed to do that back in that time, right? It's like a racism thing going on, believe it or not. It says, how is it that thou, being a Jew, ask of me to drink, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. See? She says it right there. And Jesus answered and said unto her. Now I'm going to show you, you can see the story of what's here. I'm going to take it apart of what it means in the vernacular of your own life, right? He says to her, if thou knowest the gift of God, and who it is that saith to thee, give me to drink, thou wouldest have asked of him, and he would have given you the living water, right? The woman said unto him, sir, thou hast nothing to draw with. You had nothing to draw water with, right? You have nothing to draw with. And the well is deep. Nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. Keep that in mind, right? From whence then hast thou that living water? Where do you have living water? You're telling me you got different water than this water that's living water, and you got nothing to even draw with. You got nothing in your hands to draw with, right? That's what you're saying to him, right? Thou art greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well, and drank thereof himself, and his children, and his cattle. The great Jacob of the Bible, Jacob she's talking about. He said, you greater than him? Jesus answered and said unto her, whosoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again, but whosoever drinketh of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water springing up into everlasting life. I'm going to stop there for a minute. I'm going to play with this a little bit. There's churches all over the place that talk about the church being, or the woman, I'm sorry, that the church is the woman. The woman gives birth to the new Christian. You're born of your mother, then one day you come to the knowledge of truth, you find out what Jesus did, you know all about the crucifixion, with the sacrifice for sins, so you could be forgiven, become sons and daughters of God, and become a new creature, right? You start to grow from there, right? Now, the woman represents the church. The church is the woman. He's talking to a woman. She's showing the things of old, the Jacob, and the laws of the Old Testament law. You shouldn't be asking me for water in the first place. I'm a Samaritan. You're a Jew. Right? I kind of see that in regular life. How many Christians are walking around that actually even went to churches from time to time and still think that they're not worthy to go to God for anything? This is the point to that part of it. This stands out for all of us. Because what this means here, right, is that's done. Old law is done. New Testament, the mercy of Jesus Christ. The door is being opened. He's going to be crucified. Not long after he saw this woman, by the way. He went to the cross, right? Now, if thou knewest the gift of God, and who it is that saith to thee, give me to drink, thou wouldest have asked of him, and he would have given you the living water. The living water. Let's jump back down to where we left off before with the cattle, right? the cattle and all of that. And he said, whosoever drinketh of this water shall never thirst again. But whosoever drinketh of this water that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water springing up into everlasting life. Now, if you know anything about what he just said there, the church talks about that as like, you said the prayer. We said the whoop-de-doopty prayer that we believe in Jesus all of a sudden, and we have all this knowledge all of a sudden, and you just go out there and do your thing. You can tell everybody the truth about everything. No, it says, shall be in him a well of water, springing up into everlasting life. That takes time for it to build up pressure and spring up. So you go through these things in life for a reason. Our ups and downs. What's the reason? To spring forth. Because as you go through these things and you got to deal with issues, you learn. You learn during the hard times what never to do again, for one, things like that, right? And you learn deeper things about God, because if your heart gets crushed a little bit, you'll be searching for answers after you got hurt by this or that one or the other thing, or an issue that happened, or something you did to yourself, right? All of those things come into play, right? The woman saith unto him, Sir, give me this water, that I thirst not, neither come hither to draw. Jesus said unto her, Go call thy husband. Remember, the woman is the church. Go call thy husband. Call him hither, meaning tell him to come here. And the woman answered and said unto him, I have no husband. And Jesus said unto her, Thou hast well said. She actually told the truth, right? I have no husband, right? For thou hast 5 husbands. Oh, there's the big number right there. That's what opened me up, because I'm a big numbers guy in the Bible. Thou hast had 5 husbands, and he whom thou now hast is not thy husband. In that sayest thou truly. The fivefold ministry. The church. 5 husbands. Now watch what he says after this. The woman saith unto him, Sir, I perceive that thou art a prophet. Our fathers worshipped in the mountains, and ye say that in Jerusalem, in the place where men ought to worship. Jesus said unto her, Woman, believe me, the hour cometh, when ye shall neither in this mountain, nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father. Ye worship ye know not what. You know what that stands for today? All of those stupid messages that I hear, I hear a lot of dumb messages. They don't do anything. The problems are so much greater in the world today. These old school doctrines that I see a lot of guys preaching out there are not enough to sustain people or get them free of the problems that they're in. Jesus knew this then, that this day would be now, right? He says, we know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. But the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father seeketh such to worship him. God is spirit. God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. And the woman said, let's read this part here. And the woman said unto him, I know that the Messiah, watch it. She doesn't know what she's talking to. She says, I know that the Messiah cometh, meaning the coming Savior, right? Which is called Christ. When he is come, he will tell us all things. And Jesus said unto her, I am that speaking unto thee am he. She had no idea who she was talking to. Now watch this. He had no, early on in that, he had no thing to draw water, right? That's what she said. It says, the woman said to him, you have nothing to draw, thou hast nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. Let me tell you something about people that are broken, man, because I was one of them. When the well is deep, it's deep. I watched a preacher stick with me for 3 years. I watched another one stick with me all these years. He's still around for me, these guys. And let me tell you something, man. They never looked at it as there was a day where it would just be all perfect and dandy. I would all of a sudden one day would say, I'm totally fine and free. Listen, I was cleaned up for a long time before my mother died and my brother died. My father was a little early on. But I'll be honest with you. Those 3 deaths hit me like a ton of bricks, man. They hurt bad. I mean, I miss them all the time. I miss them constantly. I'll show you how bad I miss these people. See this? This is a collection. See that? That goes with me everywhere. I got them in every Bible I own. Got them in my car from all the funerals. I keep them by my side everywhere I go. And I hurt from them sometimes. I hurt that I miss them, but I do know where they are. I've seen signs and wonders from God that certain songs would come on the radio, where another song backed another one up, and it turned out to be two songs. There was no way around it. They were from the 70s. They were on this other station. They didn't belong there. And I knew that the mother of my kids was answering me that she made it, even though she had a lot of bad problems when she crossed over. There was a lot of things going on with her. You know, but God's not, he doesn't have a lack of common sense. There's no lack there. He's all common sense, you know? He knows when somebody's trying their wholehearted. I used to teach something years ago when I first started preaching. I told a story because people would say, if there's any drugs at all, then they're going to hell. Right? That's the kind of things that people would preach. And he had this woman that was hounding me with this, that I was preaching things that I was saying that people can get away with doing what they're doing. Listen, no one gets away with anything when it comes to God. Your life will get pulled apart until finally you're choked by the tares in the wheat in the field, just like that parable is, and you'll come to your senses. Harvest time comes for you then. Came for me, you know. No one gets around. And no one rides for free, you know. You pay your dues in a dead zone and you learn. But the story I used to tell, there's Johnny, right? Johnny's over there, and every week I run into Johnny on the street with my Bible. I'm talking to him about God. So Johnny's trying. He wants to know this Jesus. He wants to know all about salvation and the redemptive system that was put out there for him. And he's fighting hard. He's really fighting hard to get his life together. So he's doing like three little bags of dope every day. Well, actually, he was doing like 5, right? Then after a while, he was down to like 2. He was holding on, doing the 2, praying with me from time to time, asking God to help get free of it completely. He said, it's so hard to go so long between the first one and the last one. I do the one early in the day, and the other one I wait all day to get to that last one to get me to go to sleep, you know? He says, I don't know if I can go down to just one, and I don't know if I can do it. I said, keep trying, keep trying. Well, little Johnny got hit by a car and died. What do you think God says to that guy when he gets there before him by the throne? What do you think God said to him? You were still doing 2 bags a day, so screw you, go to hell? I don't think so. I don't buy that. God says you were doing your 100%, man. You were trying. You were trying. You gave it your all. That's how God thinks. God's not stupid. Do what you got to do. I said, my suggestion, if you got a drug problem, rehab it. Get your butt in a rehab and get a Bible, take a Bible with you. Use God as your higher power. That's my personal feel. You know, I wouldn't try to play with any of it or try to beat it on your own. You know, unless God gives you a miraculous miracle, you know. I mean, that's different. You may all of a sudden look at it like it was a foreign substance. Happened to my mother. My mom couldn't stop smoking. Heavy cigarette smoker. She was involved in the church at that point. We all were. And she was reading about Jesus and stuff, and she used to tell the story all the time. She said, one day, I thought I got it. She said, but I was at the kitchen table with her Raleigh filter longs with her lighter, right? And her ashtray. And she suddenly, she looked up and saw like a vision before her eyes of the crucifixion of Jesus on the cross. All the last things he said. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? All of those things. And she said, and after I saw the whole thing, like tears pouring down my face, it was my kitchen in my house where I grew up. She said, I turned around, I looked at the pack of cigarettes on the table, and it looked like I never knew what they were. Like I never touched them before. She never smoked again. She smoked her whole life, my mother. And she threw them out. That could happen. You could pray for that to happen. We could believe God together for that to happen. I have no problem with that either. I pray right now, God, Father, make the way. Open the doors for anybody out there that's got addiction problems going on. Open the doors. Bring them to the right scriptures, the right verses. Get in a Bible. You can get the King James Version Bible on an app for free on your phone. Get that if you have to. Read the Bible. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. get down before God and say you want to get free of this junk. Do it. And be determined to stand strong. And if you can't shake it that way, Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous. Get in there and take that Bible with you on your phone. I don't know if you can use your phone in there when you first go in. They take your phones away. But get a regular Bible in. They might have them in there. I don't know if they have them in there. Some places might. But that's what I would do, you know. This woman came to this well. Now, she said, the well is deep. My well was deep. Oh, man, there we go. Watch this. There you go. Here's how God always works in the same processes all the time. He builds everything the same way. It's unbelievable how he does a lot of the same things the same way. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Jesus, where was heaven? The heavens within you. Jesus, where's the earth? You're my earthen vessel. And the earth was without form and void. Born of your mother, not born of God. Getting born again to come to the knowledge of the crucifixion of Christ, receiving the fact that this is a reality and salvation and the principles of the whole situation, becoming that guy or that woman, right, is where that change takes place. So you go, if you first come, you come without form and you're void. You have no spiritual life until that day happens, right? It says, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, and God said, let there be light. And there was light. What light? He's the light of the world. There's the lights that are on, so you can see me right here. And then there's the light of the world, that is the spiritual light, Jesus Christ, the guy that opened the door for humanity to get in. And that's for everybody. And believe me when I tell you, I don't know anybody coming in squeaky clean. Like he didn't come to get squeaky clean people, they wouldn't need him. You know what I'm saying? It came for those who cannot squeaky clean. So the dirty, you know what? The best way to deal with God is to have a sharp reputation. The more messed up you are, the more God can use you. If you turn your life around. It says, and God saw the light that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. He divided the light from the darkness. See, the light is the message of God, the scripture, the things that Jesus put down. Where do you get your words from? My Father who is in heaven. Jesus didn't speak anything without the Father telling him what to speak. He says it over and over again in the Gospels. Where do you get these words you speak, Rabbi? My Father who is in heaven. Although the church will tell you that he got them on his own. I don't know where they come to this. It's just plain as day, right? So, and God divided the light from the darkness. God divided the light from the darkness. Jesus wasn't on earth yet. This is the beginning of the Bible. This is the book of Genesis, the book 1, right? And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day of a new birth. See? The Christian comes in, the new day of a new birth, right? And God said, let there be firmament in the midst of the waters. That's water that comes up out of the ground and waters everything. Because if you read further in this part of the Bible, rain never fell out of the sky. Didn't happen. The earth wasn't on an axis. It was straight up and down like that. Didn't go 365 days in a year in an oval. It went 369 years in a perfect circle before the flood of Noah. Science already proved that. So do the science. For you science freaks, go do your science. You'll see what I'm talking about, right? And God said, let there be firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide waters from the waters. And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. I got to work on that one, guys. There's something more in that water thing. Because the human body is made up of a lot of water, scientifically. Right? Jesus was made up because he was both flesh like us too, so he came in flesh, so he had water in his body. When they stabbed him, both blood and water came from his body. Right? And the watering of the word. So these things all have something to do with something here. I'm going to get more out of that watering. That's going to be another message down the road. And God called the firmament heaven. He called the firmament heaven. The water were made up of how much water? Jesus, where are the heavens? The heavens are within you. We're full of water. Right? And the evening and the morning was the second day. Well, if you got yourself redeemed into the new system of what he just showed happen here, then you would be the second day, right? And he called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. The heavens are now have a place to dwell. See? And God said, let the waters under the heavens be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear, and it was so. Let the waters under the heavens be gathered together to one place, and let the dry land appear. Wow. I never thought I'd get more out of this, but there's more in here. Gathered together. Like all these, you figure there's a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of little earths is what they are to God, right? All of us are like little earths. His foundation that he could build his church and dwell in us and work through us and use us as conduits to bring the message out. And when somebody's in trouble, dig in your pocket, give them some money. It does work, you know. To just tell somebody, we're praying for you, brother. They got to eat. You know what I mean? They got to eat. They got to pay bills. You know, and they're not going to always have it all right away. And sometimes it takes helping, right? But that's where we came from before with the woman at the well, right? Again, there was water involved. Drink of this water, you'll never thirst again. Here's the water over here. He's separating the waters from the waters. What waters? Was there something also there? Yeah, there was a water that was dark and filthy and mud. And there was a good water, right? And the firmament. The firmament came up and all the plants grew, all the vegetables grew, all on their own. You have to go out there and plant them, nothing. Everything just grew. Because from this, we go to Adam and Eve in the garden, right? After involved in this part. And that's the heavy. Like the process of God is real. He makes a way where there seems to be no way when you're in trouble. I wouldn't say that, how can I put it? I wouldn't say that he takes you out of the troubles, but he does walk with you in them. At least he does with me. He always did. And you learn stuff. When something starts to go a little wacky at this time in my life, I've done it so many times with him, the first thing that comes out of my mouth, you know what it is? I say, what you do, do quickly, which is what he said to God when he was going to the cross. I see that all of a sudden darkness is closing in on me because I'm in a situation I can't get out of. God, what you do, do quickly, Father. You know, get me through this quick. And let me learn fast, because the faster I learn that's how fast you'll cut it off. Once your heart opens up and you really understand something, that's when God really intervenes even more. But if you're a hardhead and you don't want to listen, Bible has a scripture, there's parts in the Bible where it talks about breaking the neck of the jackass. That's another thing. Let me tell you something. If you're the jackass, you got to break the neck. You know, and he'll work on you until he breaks it. You know, some come by water, some come by fire. The Bible says. Sometimes you just hear the message and you're smart enough to believe it. You know, and sometimes you hear the message and you don't want to trust it, you don't want to believe it, you want to go your own way and do your own thing. And what happens in the long run with that? You're in trouble and you're in flames. You're sitting there burning alive. You know, it could be in jail. You could have no license, no place to live. It could be a bunch of different things, right? Somebody died. Or you did something so bad that it caused a problem for your physical body, and you now find out you're on a death run. To cause yourself cancer or something because of things you were doing. There were those that do that, right? There were those that cause themselves death by overdosing on drugs. There's so many different things, you know? But you could be free of that. You could in other words, my father had the greatest saying in the world. He sat there when I was in all kinds of trouble many years ago, and he said, you know what, Eddie, I always seem to just be the smart one in the family. He said, listen. He said, life has a tendency to bring all kinds of crap. Why the hell would you add to it? What a great piece of wisdom, right? Well, I saw that, and it kind of blew my mind. Like my father had some good wisdom, the old guy. He was good to me. I should have again, I didn't learn from that the first time. I still messed around a bunch of times. It's like, you know, stupid. But I grew up. There's a lot of things I don't do anymore. I got something stuck on my screen. It's driving me nuts. Give me that. There we go. It's bothering me. Facebook has been doing all kinds of new stuff lately. Like giving you. He can use effects. Press on this and open. I'm in the middle of a live thing here. I'm not pressing nothing. So the woman at the well, the fivefold ministry, the church in itself. He said, you've been married 5 times and you don't know what you worship. You don't know what you believe. He's talking to the church of today. They got to wake up. It's not just about sin and not sinning. If that was what it was, then what's the sense? God is trying to build a complete, strong, firm, life everlasting relationship with the souls of you and me, right? That's what he's trying to do. That's what he built and designed the whole thing to do. So where is this, Johnny stole something out of a store last Thursday. Did you hear about that? Repent, brother. I mean, this is petty. I'm not saying he should do it, but I'm saying it's petty. People need to know how big this is. What God can do. The bird in the tree. I've told that story so many times. I never noticed it until my friend Sue brought it to me down in Florida. She brought it out to me online. She said, Ed, it said the bird doesn't spin nor toil. I never thought about that. Like the guy came to the campfire at night, asked Jesus if he could sit down with him and the disciples. It was late at night, they had a campfire burning. He said, yeah, stranger, come on in, man. I said, come on in and get warm. And they woke up the next day. They even fed him. They woke up the next day and Peter's coat was gone. He stole his coat. He was gone with the coat. Peter jumped up and said, are you out of your mind? He says, where is this guy? He said, when I get him in the village, he's going to give him what for, These guys were tough guys, the disciples. They were no slouch. So he made that statement, and Jesus said, whoa, how long have you been with me? What are you doing? He said, look at the bird in the tree. He says, does it seem happy? The bird's singing up a storm. I'm paraphrasing it to regular English from the D.ood thing, right? He says, look, the bird is like singing up a storm. Look, they worried about anything? Peter's like, no, not really. He goes, he doesn't spin nor toil. You know what spin nor toil means? It doesn't work. Right? It doesn't work. Drop down, pick up a worm, go back up. If it's got babies, like it's got to feed and chew it up in its mouth, go in there and spit it, feed all right, mouth-to-mouth thing that they feed each other, right? And singing all day long. If that bird's not worried, and God cared so much for that bird, how much more does he care for you, who was made in his likeness and image? Go find that guy and give him your shirt too. That's where the church is messed up. The church people on all formats of it, they don't get the part of the give. God said something to me, something just transpired recently where I got cut off on a whole bunch of income. It's just not happening. It's gone. Out of nowhere. And I said, well, God, I don't know what you can do with that. Right? And he turned around and I said, I want to do this. I was hungry. I wanted to buy something to eat at a certain place. I said, I want to go get food there, but you know what? I'm going to go home and I was eating a lot of bread stuff. I'm not supposed to eat any stuff. I got 4 stents in my heart. I was like, I'm going to eat this, eat that. I got like a little more over 10 minutes left here. But I was, looking at the situation of not spending any money. And I heard it in my head. He said, during COVID, I told you to just go on one day at a time, like nothing even changed. Did I not take care of you during that whole time? I said, yes, you did. He said, so if you're telling me you're trusting me, but you won't eat that meal, where are you trusting me? I said, wow, man, I didn't think about that. So I went and bought the meal. Then I was like, I don't really have enough money to put gas in it. I'm putting gas in the car. I put gas in the car. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, somebody gave me a little extra. And then somebody gave me a little extra again, another person. Out of nowhere. And I made it through the last of that month. I skated, but I made it through. That's not God's will either. It should be in abundance. I tell them that all the time. It should be in abundance. Be blessed coming in and blessed going out. Well, I mean, where do I stand with this knowledge that God gives me? To give you an example, I preached it in the church for many years. People gave and gave and gave and gave. Some guy made suits, used to make him custom suits. Suits that go for like thousands and thousands of dollars. He didn't pay for them. The guy would make them for him and put them on. His opinion, and our opinion, all those people from that church, if that pastor should be driving a beautiful car, he should have a decent house, not have to worry about the bills. They get paid every month, right? He should have nice clothes on his back, and he should be healthy if he's preaching the message, because that's what God's supposed to do with his people. But a preacher relies on the people sending, giving. Otherwise, you don't have nothing. Don't get me wrong. Tons of it goes to the building and the lighting and the electric and the gas. And believe me, they got oil bills just like everybody else in those places, right? And I watched people who would never lift a nickel, and I watched people that would lift thousands like it was nothing. They would send money all over the place. I also noticed that a lot of those people are still alive. Some of them are way up in age now, still here, still living a good life, you know, because they were givers, you know. Not all of them. Some of them did pass, but they passed from, like, you know, went to sleep and never woke up. Didn't even know what hit them. Got to the other side. They were giving their whole time. I know they got their mansion. They're on the other side in their mansion. They're living life. But that is what makes God see that you trust him. I didn't have hardly anything in my pocket, and I was using it because he told me to use it irregardless. And that's what I did. He said, you can't tell me you're trusting me if you're afraid to go buy that food, man. I said, I never thought about that. So I started doing what he said, and things transpired from specific people. And God said to me, I've been telling him over and over again, I want to do this. This is what I want to do. I want to preach to people. I want to get them to see the truth about God. I want them to see the miracle-working power of God in their own life. I want them to see that they're not going to be alone. I have somebody who recently, a past girlfriend actually, she had lost her dad and then she lost her mom. Now she might be on here. She could be on here right now. I notice a difference in her. I see her every once in a blue moon, but she's not the same. Great giver, great heart, big, all of that. She's got a lot of good things about her, you know. She's a really good person. But it did a number on her. She misses these people. I know she does. But when you see how real this is, and the more real it gets, you'll have your ups and downs with your sorrows of the ones that have lost from here, but they're not gone for good. They're just over on the other side. They're more alive than we are, actually. You know, I lost my time. What happened? The time disappeared on me. I still got time? Yeah, so the point that I'm making is you can't lose, you know, with God. You're going to make it with God. You won't make it any other way. That's the way I see it. You know, everybody needs God. You could be a millionaire, you need God. You could be in a wheelchair, you need God. You could be healthy physically and you need God. You could be a great sports person, you need God. You could be somebody who's in a great relationship with their children and everybody's looking good. And you still need God. God should be in everybody's life. God is the God of every human being on this planet Earth. He made the whole thing. And it behooves me to see people out there that don't have anything or have any belief. I mean, how shallow, I think about that, man, if I was that person, how shallow would that be for me? That I don't get to go on the way home now when I leave, say, hey, God, man, I hope everything went good, man. I gave it my all, you know. I do. I talk to him. I come apart. I cry in front of him. I do. So I'll make a way where there seems to be no way. And people despitefully use me. Some people don't like me at all. Some people love me beyond anything imaginable. They'll do anything if they can help me, you know. But, like I said, there's going to God, and then there's going to God with your whole heart. I mean, I've used the term where some people get offended, Christians, when I use it. But I got a lot of Brooklynese and Ozone Park stuck in me from my parents. That's where they were raised, right? And there's no other way to put it but where the rubber meets the road. Don't come to God with half an ass. Come with the whole ass, man. Don't play games with him. The one thing I do know, like he said before, you have to come to him in spirit and in truth. Spirit and in truth. That means even your stuff that you're doing wrong, let him know that you know that I know, that you know that I know. Remember that comedy thing? He knows. You can't hide anything from him. Take it one day at a time with him, man, and you go on, you know. But he has a miracle for your life if you could do that. Every day could be a miracle. Man, I've gotten to a place in life when I got this cup of coffee and it's paid for, man. It's a miracle. People can't even afford a cup of coffee out there. I got this nice Bible. These Bibles ain't cheap anymore. You ever buy a King James Bible? Expensive, like $65. Maybe more. I don't know. Since COVID. Might have been around a while. But, you know, clothing. I mean, things like that, you know. And hats get given to me. I became head to hat a long time. People find one of these. Just fit you. Brand new ones with the tags on them. I got stacks of them in where I live. It's amazing. But, you know, I'm just saying, like, God will make a way where there seems to be no way. He's your front and rear guard. He's your blessed coming in and blessed going out. He's got your back. He's your advocate, just like that, which would be like a lawyer, you know. All of those things come into play. Who gets up and says, I don't want that? Like, I don't understand that from Jump Street, man. I don't get it. You know, it's just like, I lost so many people, but before that even happened, I was sensible enough to know that one day all I'll have is God. These other people will be gone. Little did I know it was going to happen a lot sooner than we thought. My mother was only 57, and so was my dad when he passed. I lived longer than them. I'm 64 years old. And if God didn't tell me to tell my heart doctor to send me to good St. Francis, actually for a nuclear test, I'd be dead because both main arteries are closed. They don't know how I was alive. They were scratching their heads like bald, trying to figure out, well, how is he alive? Look at this. Intake and exhaust is closed. How's he circulating blood? I mean, the miracle was beyond belief, the miracle. And God did it. God did that. For some reason, that fell out of my mouth in front of my heart doctor. After EKGs and echocardiograms every 6 months for over 10 years. I always got him checked that way. Oh, everything's good. Everything's good. Don't worry about nothing. After that nuclear test was done and they saw the blood flow was not happening, and they saw where it was not happening and how severe the situation was, I went back to my doctor after everything was said and done, my regular heart doctor, and I said, what does the EKG and echocardiogram actually show? When something already happened? He goes, well, yeah. I said, dude, that weakens the heart. A minor infraction is damage to the heart. Why wouldn't the nuclear test be first? Forget about the EKG and echocardiogram. But God knew that. I didn't even know that. I suggested something more conclusive than the regular tests. God did that. That was a miracle. Keeping me through COVID with high blood pressure, diabetes, and 200 and something pounds. God did that. Right? Having no way out. The cars breaking down like crazy. I can't even tell you the thousands that have to go into the cars. God did that. You know? He got me through it. Well, don't get me wrong. There's a few choice words coming out of my mouth at times and smashing my fist into the wall, but it's still in the same respect. I stayed as patient as possible, you know. But God got me through. And I know, like, no matter what's coming up in the future, I got God, man. I got Jesus Christ and I got God. These guys are there, man. You know, and how does somebody live without that? That blows my mind. You know, I just don't get that part. That's crazy. I see people do it all the time. I got so many people floating around. Who is this? Karen Mullins. Hey, what's happening, Karen? Maria DeMarco, another good friend of mine. We got some people on here tonight. Let's see when we stroll back. Mike Avona, what's happening? Nice Cadillac, man. Denise Omo, how you doing, honey? Good lady. All good people. All good people. Nana Margaret, these are good people, man. Charlie Raymond, man, another good friend. Bobby Lane. Yeah, these messages have been going up into the hundreds and the hundreds and then the hundreds and thousands. I can't believe how many people are watching this thing. But you can do something if you want to get, because this has got to be paid for. This is a serious studio here. This is not a joke, this place. Okay? And if you could do something, you just, all one thing, all one word, no capital letters, no separations, right? Ed the Hat 1979 at gmail.com. You can also, and the other thing he's got up there, if you think he's got it up there, the thing that sends to Venmo, I believe. Sends to a Venmo account. I believe it's up there too on the screen. I don't see it on my phone. I can't really see it from here. I think that's what it is. Yep, that's what it is. You got that computerized thing. You can click on that and send that way too. But we got to pay for the studio time, stuff like that. And I want to turn this into a legit stand-up ministry. I got to get it happening. It takes money. Everything takes money in his life. But if you know that God's got your back, you cast your bread upon the water, and it'll return back to you. Press down, shake it together, and running over. It'll come back. Right? More than what you put out. You can't outgive God. I'll tell you that right now. I should have been dead, guys. I should have had a massive coronary. When they saw that, those doctors scratched their head. They said, he said, your heart should have exploded. Did you understand? Explode? I said, yeah. My father's heart exploded, and my brother's heart exploded. Unbelievable. But that's where we're at. Bobby, we got any time left? I got 3 or 4 minutes, guys. That's Bobby in the background. He's the brains of this whole thing, He's the one that gets me rolling here. And like I said before, so just to keep it on the up and up, if you're a Lutheran or a Baptist or a Catholic or a born again or Episcopalian, I don't care what you call it. It's some sort of a Christianity, right? God uses all of these. They're all avenues to get the people of the birth and the resurrection, the birth, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ and the salvation for humanity. I've seen him use all levels of it. So I don't knock anybody. Some people are colored stones with no transparency. They'll go through their life just knowing Jesus was the real thing and be giving and loving to others, and they don't have any insight like I'm digging out of this book. And that's okay. That's what their walk is, and God uses that. The same way he uses me doing what I do. Am I better than that person? No, not at all. I'm just as valuable and just not worth any less or any more. We're all equal. No respecter of persons. We're blessed coming in and blessed going out. He's our front and rear God. I mean, that's it, man. I heard a music note. Does that mean we're done? Okay, I'll wrap it up real quick. So you could do that thing, like I said, guys. You see the thing up there, right? At thehat1979 at gmail.com. That, and you can go from that. You could do Zelle, and you can get the Venmo too. Venmo is just Edward D'Alessio if you didn't want to do it manually, but you could do it with the computer thing, with your phone. But money's needed to keep this rolling, guys. I'm being honest with you. Anything helps. I don't tell people what to give. I hope God tells the people in their hearts what to give. That's the way it's supposed to be done. Blessed coming in, blessed going out, front and rear God. I'll see you soon. We'll be back, maybe 2 weeks, I think we might be back again. And I'll be on at home too. Adios.